Hey guys, and welcome to Pixel Cherry Ninja's channel. In this video we are going to be having a look at fan games. Now there are a whole bunch of different fan games out there. Sometimes they are original games made from the ground up that are just unique IPs. Sometimes fans make games that are available for different systems. So let's say, for example, there was a game out that was available for the Super Nintendo that you were growing up. You never had the Super Nintendo and you had a Mega Drive and you always wanted it for the Mega Drive. Well, sometimes fans port games over to a different system. So I've chosen 5 games in here and we're going to go through them and we're going to look at them, and I'm going to tell you why I think you should try these out. Now, you've got different ways of playing these games. You can play these games on original hardware. You can play these games on FPGA devices such as the MiSTer and the Analogue Pocket. You can play these on emulation, like software emulation. So if you've got like a Steam Deck, a Windows PC, an Android, there are different ways of playing them. All the footage that you're seeing in this video is from the MiSTerFPGA because that's like my main console that I have connected to the TV and I like it a lot. So before we go further in, guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, then a subscription and a like is always super duper appreciated. And also I just want to say, if there's other fan games out there, definitely let me know in the comments because I always appreciate the feedback from you guys. You guys have put me onto so many good games. In fact, probably some of the games in here you guys initially told me about. So the first game that you're seeing on screen now is R-Type, and this is known as Mega R-Type. So R-Type originally was a horizontal scrolling shooter. It was an arcade game and it was released in 1987. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the year. It was it's on the IRIM M72 hardware, which also hosts like other great games like The Legend of Hero Tomna, Ninja Spirit, just to name a few. This was also released for many different systems. Almost every system had a port of the original R-Type. I remember playing it on devices like the Spectrum. Spectrum is the one that really stood out. One of my favorite ones was actually on the Game Boy DMG as well. I remember playing it on the Amiga also. One system that never got it was the SEGA Mega Drive. Well, that is up until recently. So RoboZ has been working on Mega R-Type. I featured videos or a video on a previous version of this, but he has updated this so it has more levels in there. So what's great about this? What's great about this is it's got a lot of quality of life features in there. So not only can you pick the normal R-Type ship, which I think is called the Arrowhead, you can also pick the prototype ship from R-Type Leo. Now, it doesn't have the pods you have in R-Type Leo, but you can't get the normal pod that Arrowhead has. But it's nice aesthetics, it's nice stuff in here. From the word go, you can go into like mission setup and you can pick what level you want to go and what ship. So you don't have to play the game with the original Arrowhead, you can play it with the R-Type Leo prototype. The other thing that I really like about this, R-Type in the arcade and most versions of R-Type, in fact every version of R-Type that I played, it has a checkpoint like respawning system. That's the right word I was looking for. So a checkpoint respawn system. You die, you start at a specific point in the game and you come back. What you can do is you can swap that over in options, so when you die you respawn from exactly where you die. This is something that was available in different shmups. It's nice to see this on R-Type now, but this is really good. It's an excellent fan effort. It just feels really good. Every time I play it, yeah, I just love the way it feels. So there's a current demo. Everything is on itch.io. Now every game that I'm featuring in here is available for free. You can leave a donation to the developers, but that is strictly voluntary. All the links for everything you're going to see will be in the description of the video, so if you do want to check those out, check those out. But this demo has 4 stages, arcade and remix soundtracks. It has 2 different difficulty levels, a music player, and tons of other mega options. So yeah, definitely check this one out. But let's move over to the next game. But this one was Mega R-Type. The next part of the video, the next 3 games are going to be Game Boy games. We're going to do 1 Game Boy game, 1 Game Boy Color game, and 1 Game Boy Advance game. Now, out of the 3 Game Boy models that I mentioned, my favorite is always the Game Boy DMG, because as a kid, I had a DMG. Actually, I had a Game Boy Color after when I got older, and when I was in my like late teens or whatever age I was, the Game Boy Advance came out, but I have the most nostalgia for the Game Boy DMG. So whenever something comes out, I want to play it with that green screen goodness. Now I recommend playing this on your Analogue Pocket because the Analogue Pocket has great screen filters, but that's not the only way to play it. The footage you're seeing here is on the MiSTer, and I use like some of the visual effects or the video processing options available on the MiSTer to give it the green screen look that you are seeing. So this game here, Lunar Lancer. It's absolutely amazing to see developers bringing out new games for our old systems. It's always a pleasure. So the developer on this is Jonas Fitzbuck, and they've released this as a free game. I don't even remember an option here to actually get a donation. It is just free, straight out free. Now, this is a vertical shmup or a vertical shooter, and it is quite difficult. The enemies, there's quite a lot of them, and sometimes it's difficult to shoot every single one. The special weapons, I think you should be able to get them more frequently, but you don't. So you're always on that hunt for survival. When you do pick up a special weapon, so your first initial button will be your fire button, and the fire button is auto. So you've got auto fire. The second button will then fire your second weapon, which is limited. So you have to be selective as you're flying around. There's some enemies that are one hit and there are some enemies that are multiple hits. You want to use your special weapon on the enemies that are multiple hits. Now, one thing I really do like about this, I really do like the boss fights. I think the boss fights are what actually make this game. The boss fights are fun, they're varied, and the bosses just look really, really cool. So this is definitely a game you should try. Analogue, Pocket, MiSTer, software emulation, actual hardware. Wherever you're going to play it, give this a shot because this is free and we love free. This next game here is a Game Boy Color game, and I remember seeing a tweet where a developer said, the developer of this game, user 0x7f. They said if this gets a certain amount of like retweets or likes, they will release a game for the Game Boy Color inspired by F-Zero for absolutely free. And here we have it. F-Zero, this is G0 World GP, and it is exactly like F-Zero. When you see how good this looks on the Game Boy, you won't believe your eyes. When the Game Boy was current, I don't remember anything looking as good as this. It really does capture that F-Zero feel in the style of a Game Boy Color. It's fast, the racing's difficult, you can pick out of free cars when you start off, and you can unlock another free cars. You've got boost as well, so your A and B button or your B and A button will be accelerate and brake, but if you hold up you can boost as well. So there's a balance when you're racing around in this. If you use too much of your boost, you run out of power and you may not be able to complete the race. The story behind this is, it is the year 2560, so this is well in the future. We were able to defend ourselves against an alien attack, but also suffered great losses. To celebrate the day of victory, a race is held every 4 years, the G0 World Grand Prix. Only the best pilots are allowed to compete in the race, and never-ending glory awaits the winner. Anyway, definitely check this out. It's a lot of fun, and when you do see it, if you played stuff on the Game Boy, you'll definitely appreciate this, because honestly, I don't remember anything that looked as good as this running on a Game Boy Color at around the time when the Game Boy Color was current. If there was something, definitely let me know in the comments, because I would definitely like to play that game too. The final recommendation in the Game Boy series, and we're taking this one over to the Game Boy Advance. Now this is Apotris. I'll always say the best version of Tetris for me is the Game Boy DMG version of Tetris. It's the first version of Tetris I ever played, and it always gives me a big nostalgia kick when I play it. So that's the one I always go back to. If I play a different Tetris game, it is always Apotris. I usually play it on the Analogue Pocket. I think it's a good suit for a handheld device. Now you don't have to play it on the Analogue Pocket. In fact, if you go over to the link in the description, you can see you can get a Game Boy Advance ROM. You can get a Windows version of this, a native Windows version, a native Linux version, a native Apple Mac version, and also a Nintendo Switch version is on this site. The reason this game is so good, the soundtrack is absolutely banging. The way the soundtrack changes as the blocks get faster or when you make lines, it's amazing. It's got all the quality of life features in there that you would expect from a new Tetris game, and it has so many different game modes. It has Marathon, Sprint, Dig, Ultra, Blitz, Combo, Survival, Classic, Master, stuff like 2-player battle, and even a training mode if you want to up your skills. Most people would actually say this is the definitive version of Tetris. It really, really is that good. It's free, download it, play it wherever you want, but I strongly recommend playing this on the Analogue Pocket. It is just such a great fit for that device, and you will love it. The colors are absolutely glorious in this. The final game that we're looking at here is X-Men, the 1992 arcade game by Konami. This is a great arcade brawler. There's like 2-player versions of this game. 2-player cabinets, a 4-player cabinet, and an absolutely ginormous 6-player cabinet. The game is just a lot of fun. This isn't something that I played growing up. I remember seeing this in the arcades, but I remember not having money at the time and watching people play it. Now, all the games that you've seen in this video will work on the Analogue Pocket apart from this one. This one, like everything else, I'm playing on the MiSTer, but the Analogue Pocket doesn't have a Saturn core. So there's different ways of playing this. I played this on my MiSTerFPGA. You can play it on your MiSTer, you can play it on original Saturn hardware, or you can play this on a software emulator. The choice is completely yours, but I strongly recommend playing this. So this is a work in progress. It's a game that developer Hot Rod X has been working on for some time. I featured a video on the channel about this before, having a look at an earlier version. But what Hot Rod X has done now is they've added an additional stage, and they've added Nightcrawler as a playable character. And I have to say, it feels very true to the arcade. So the Saturn never had a port. This is an arcade port that's been brought over to the Saturn, and this is the stuff that I absolutely love seeing. I love seeing stuff that was out for a different console, but fans decided to port it over, or just new games coming out in general. So if like me you have a MiSTerFPGA, definitely try it. It works on the core. It works really well on the core. This game has a really good soundtrack, and as soon as you play it, you kind of relive that kind of 90s X-Men era. I remember reading the X-Men comics when I was a teenager. There was an artist called Jim Lee, and his artwork was just amazing, and those are the X-Men comics that I bought. I remember watching the cartoons. It was just fantastic. So guys, that's kind of it for this video. I wanted to show you 5 games, 5 fan games. Some of them are original games, some of them are games that were released for different systems but are now being brought out for a completely different system, so we can enjoy our beloved games in different ways. So do let me know down below if there are other fan games I should check, especially original ones, or even if games have been ported from one system to another. I'm always interested in the feedback you guys provide. It gives me material for videos, and it also gives me good games to check out. But that's really it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, then a subscription and a like is always super duper appreciated. This is Pixel Cherry Ninja out.